Everyone. Let's go ahead and let's get started. Hello, everyone, and welcome to What's New for Your Website. I'm your host, Ryan Clancy, and I'm the Client Success Manager here at Educational Networks. I'm excited to have you here and have you joining us today. Before we get started, as always, we do have a little bit of a game plan for today's training session. We're going to be looking at a few different things. So, one, we're going to be taking a look at how you can go in and utilize QR codes from the Forms module. We'll talk about that. But also, two, we'll be going in and taking a look at homepage alerts, too. That is really a fantastic tool to use throughout the school year. Whether it be when you're wanting to drive enrollment for the next school year or for upcoming events, maybe a policy change. So we'll definitely see how to go in and to work with that. And then from there, we'll have a chance to take a look at some of the cool things that are offered by the page editor. After we look at the page editor, we'll conclude by taking a look at the email filter feature that is offered for the email contact forms that are located on the staff directory. This is a great way to, I don't want to say really prevent phishing, but what's great about it is you can put filters on there to prevent, perhaps other staff members' names being sent through the email contact forms. So we'll definitely go in and take a look at that as well. Now, I want to mention as well is that any questions you have, please feel free to ask. To ask questions, what you want to do is you want to click on the little bubble icon on your GoToTraining toolbar. I'm going to be happy to assist. So with that being said, everyone, let's go in and let's get started. One of our newest features that we have is really, really cool. And it has to do with your Forms module. What's neat about this is that you have the ability to offer QR codes for your forms. Now, what's neat about this is there's really no additional steps to the CMS that you would need to go in and you would need to take for those QR codes. Now, the question is, where do we go and where to go in and access those? Well, I'm going to go in and sign in. We actually access these directly through the Forms module. So I've gone in, everybody, and I've signed in. And what I'm going to do from here is I'm going to head over here to the menu button. Then from here, I'm going to go over to Operations. And I'm going to select Forms. So this is great. I mean, there's really a lot of different things you can use this for. So an example that comes to mind would be for a school year application. So maybe you're hosting an enrollment open house or an enrollment fair. And what's cool is parents can be on campus and they can be looking around your school, checking out everything that you have to offer. And maybe you have a flyer posted that has this QR code on it and they scan it with their form. Or not their form, that's what they're going to open up. They're going to scan it with their phone. So I go in, I click on any of these forms really. So in this case, as an example, I can click on our 2023 to 2024 school year application. And to access those QR codes, what I would do is I go in, I click public URL, and we'll see that. So there's a couple of ways that we can go in and use this. So one is, we can either just print it out. We could also go in and maybe screenshot it as well. And then that way we can add it on to any flyers we'd like to as well. But if you click print QR code, this will go in and this will open up. So this is cool. This can be another tool that we have to be able to drive form submissions. And in terms of a school year application, drive enrollment for that next school year. But you know what's better than seeing this QR code is actually seeing it in action. Let's take a closer look, everybody. So let's see how this would go in and would work for this here. Let's take a look, everybody. So what we see is happening, we have a flyer, and that QR code is going to be scanned. So the moment that this is going to be scanned, we're going to see this form appear here as well. So it's a great way to be able to encourage these forms to be able to be submitted, which is really, really cool. And then also what's neat here as well, whoops, hang on one moment. This is a great example of what you can do with it. We have a flyer we created here as an example. Parents and students will be able to scan that, and that will go in and immediately bring them into the form so they can start filling that out. So this is a great tool to have to be able, not only for enrollment, but also for activity signups. But with enrollment in school activities and school events, we also may want to make sure that we can drive more awareness for that. So we have something for that that can really help. And what that is, everybody, is your home page alert. So the cool thing is about the home page alert is that when this opens up, it's going to appear on your site, really front and center. So it's definitely something too that when parents and students go in and they see it, it's something they're going to take notice of. And there's lots of great uses for it. We could use it to maybe share some reminders. Maybe, for example, that testing starting, standardized testing starting, we want to, share there's going to be a change for the schedule for that. It's really great for that. So let's go in and post a reminder here. So let's say that, as an example, that the senior graduation fair is happening. Maybe it's an event that seniors can go in, they can purchase their caps and gowns, things like that. And we want to post a reminder for that. My first step to go in and to add this on is we're going to head over here to our menu button. Then we'll go in, we're going to go to messaging, and we select homepage alerts. Now, a couple things about the homepage alert. When you're going in and you're adding it on, it's important to remember that at any given time, you're able to have one active alert. So that's something important to keep in mind. But also, as you add more alerts, the previous alert will be deactivated. It doesn't delete it, it just simply deactivates it. So you can actually always go back in as well and reactivate it if you want to go in and actually reutilize that alert. Let's take a look at this, everyone. So to add on our alert about our senior fair, what I'm going to do is I'll go in and I'll click Add Alert. And you'll kind of notice that this looks like a mini version of news and announcements. Like news, we go in and we fill out a form. So I'll start by writing this out. So I'll type in, please join us tonight for our senior fair. And we can start adding on the main details. We might write about a little bit about what's going to be happening at the senior fair. So we can type in, purchase your cap and gown and photo packages. Find out about the steps you'll need to complete to finalize your graduation. And join us for a helpful Q&A about the graduation ceremony. Cool. So we've gone in and we've added this on. And something else here that we may want to do is we may want to include kind of what the details for the event. So, the time and location. One thing I like to do with the homepage alert, I also like to do this with news and calendars, is I like to add on a horizontal rule. I find that it really helps with the organization of the actual post here. So we'll go in, we'll add this on. I'll type in, just as an example, main campus starting at 6 p.m. Now, there's something else, though, that we can do here to really make sure that this is going to be as visually impactful as possible. And this is actually something that I always suggest you do when you're going in and you're adding on a homepage alert. What that is to always include a photo or an image. For one, it's going to simply just make the alert just so much larger, so it's going to really help it stand out. So we'll add on a photo. And for this here, what I do is I go in, I click choose files. I'm just going to find the photo that I want to go in and I want to utilize. In this case, we're going to go in, we're going to use this one right here. And I click open. Now, while that's loading, I want to mention that if you'd like to, you can absolutely reuse your alerts and you don't have to delete them if there's a time period where you do not want them appearing on the site. Instead of deleting them, and to make it so you don't have to write everything all out again, what you would do instead of deleting it, you would actually just go in over here to where it says status, and you would go in and switch it so that it's inactive. But in this case, of course, we're wanting to make it active. But what I do now is I go in, I click save, and then what's going to happen is that when parents and students visit the homepage, so if they're navigating to the site from one of the search engines, if they are navigating to it from another section of the site, they're going to see this. And this is going to be definitely something that they're going to take notice of. What's really cool is that this is also going to be something that's going to be visible on the mobile app as well. And that's one of the really cool things about having an EduNet site. All schools have access to a free version of our app. We do also offer a branded app, which is cool. That is available for an additional fee. But what's cool is if parents and students, if they've, if you have the branded app and they've downloaded that and they go in and access that, they'll be able to view this. But also, if you don't have the branded app, and that's perfectly fine, what would happen here is they would go in when they download the unbranded app. Once they have their school there and they open this up, they'll see this alert on here. So it's also going to be something they'll definitely take notice of as well. So far, everyone, what we've had a chance to go in and see is we've seen how you can use or you can offer QR codes for your forms, but also too, how we can go in and we can create a homepage alert, which is going to be a really great way for you to be able to go in and to be able to share important updates with your school community. What we're going to take a look at, we're going to spend a few minutes. I just want to make sure to take a few minutes to share a little bit about, of course, our page editor. Now, this page editor, of course, is very different from the previous version that we had. This is actually something we did launch a couple of years ago, and we were really excited to go in and to be able to share this. And it's really been a fantastic feature to go in and to work with. A key benefit of the page editor is, for one, you have the ability to go in and to navigate to a particular section, and you can go in and edit the content on that page right on the page itself. And what's nice about this too is that it's not just text you can edit. And we're going to go in and take a look at this in detail. I go in, I right click, and from here I can choose either insert above or insert below. So in this case, I go in, I select insert above, and we get all of these neat options here. So options for photos and text. But what's great about the page editor is it has some really neat features to help with website accessibility, which we'll talk about here today. So let's say that as an example for Green Tech, we needed to create a brand new enrollment or admissions page. Now, one thing that's really important to note is that anytime you're going in and you're creating a brand new section on your site from scratch, you'll always start this off by going in and heading over here to the main menu button and then going over to sections. And to start with, we have kind of this submenu. Now, this can be quite useful because we can use this so we can access existing sections to edit them. That's really quite useful, especially if you don't have a direct link to a particular section. Now, for the most part, these categories that we see here, they do pretty much all the same things. In this case, I'm going to add our admissions section under extra sections. So I go in, click extra sections, and then from here, I go in, I click add section. We're just going to start by adding our title on. So I'll type in Green Tech Admissions. Next, I would go in and I click save. And that brings us to this next window. Now you can definitely go in and use this to go in. You can use this edit the section button to get to where you need to be to start working on this. I've always found it's easier though, just if you go back to the main menu button, you go back to sections and you're just going back to the category that you've previously added this to. So in this case, extra sections. Next, I locate my new page and I see it here, or my new section, I should say, and we're exactly where we want to be. So what I need to do from here is I need to add on our page. We can do this just by going in and clicking add page, and we can choose from any of these options here that we're going in and seeing for our page. So, we can give the admissions team, they can have their own calendar, their own photo album. So it can really be like a mini website in of itself. So that's pretty cool. But what I'm really interested in using here is the page editor. Now, to add on a page for the page editor, I actually don't even need to go in and change anything. All I need to do is just enter the titles. So in this case, I'm going to say that this new page is going to be the home page for our admissions team. So I title it as that. Then I go in and I click create page. And right away, what happens here is we are brought right into our page editor. Now, it doesn't look like there's anything on here, but if I take my mouse and I bring it towards the top of the page, we do see we have a content block that is ready for us to go in, and it's ready for us to use. So let's start by getting our introduction on here. So I'm going to copy this. Now I'm ready to paste this in. Now, the only thing is, you'll notice this here. When you're pasting in, if you right-click, you'll notice there is no option to paste your text in. No worries, though. We can still definitely do this. We're just going to want to use our keyboard. To do this, what we'll want to do is if we're using a PC, we'll want to go in our keyboard. We'll want to click Control-V, whereas if we're using a Mac, instead what we'll want to do is we'll want to go in and click Command-V. So I do that. We can see that we've added our introduction on here. But also, I highlight it and we get all of our formatting options. So this includes where you can go in, you can change the font. But along with that, what you can also do as well is you have a selection of ADA compliant colors too. Speaking of accessibility, that's what we're going to take a look at next, everybody. I'm going to show you an easy way to make a page like this be more accessible. So we can do that by going in and adding on headings. Now, it's important to note the reason that headings are going to make a page like this more accessible. Really, what we're doing is when we're using headings, we're using them so we can structure this page, and that makes it easier for anyone who's visiting our page and they're using a screen reading program. As a matter of fact, when someone's using a screen reading program, they can use that and they can actually tab to different headings, so essentially different sections on our page. So let's start by adding on our first heading. And as a general rule, for the headings, we'll want to go in and we'll start just by typing it out. So I'll type out, welcome to admissions, just like that. And once I do that, I just highlight over the text, click on the drop down. From here, keep in mind that generally with headings, we want to go in order. We switch this over to heading 1. Perfect. Now, let's go in and add on our second heading. So in this case, after this content block, I'm going to go in and I'm going to show you how you can add tables on here as well. So what I'll do is I'll start by typing out admissions department contact information. So that's going to be our second. We'll set this up as our second heading here. Keeping in mind that generally when I go in order, one way to think of headings is that you're creating a hierarchy of the content on your page. What we do is we highlight over the text. Next, we'll go in, we'll click on the drop down, and I would go in and I just switch that over so that's set up as heading 2. So we've seen how we can add some content using the page editor. Let's go in and see how we can add on some of the different content blocks, specifically how we can add on a table. It is important to note the same way that you'll go in and you'll add a table, the steps we're going to follow, and actually the steps are always the same regardless of the type of content block you're using. Our first step to add on a content block is we're just going to go in and take our mouse. What we'll then do is we'll go in and we'll right click. And depending on where we want this to go, we can choose either insert above or insert below. So in this case, I choose insert below. Then I can choose from any of these options. So we have options for text, options for photos. But this right here is the option I'm interested in using. So I click on that to add that on. What I'm going to do actually, we have kind of the heading over here, so we're just going to remove that text so we don't have that. Now what I'm able to do is I can resize this. So we may need to resize the table depending on how many fields, really how many columns and rows we're going to need for this. How you would do this is you just take your mouse, you bring it inside of the one of the content, not inside of the content blocks, but inside of one of the cells. You want to bring it into one of the cells that's either in the row or the column you want to delete. And then from here, I go to column 5. We do it for column 4. And actually, I'm going to get rid of column 1. I don't need to have it in this different style here for that. So that's important to note. So it's not really a main row. So for that, I'm going to go to column 1 and delete. And these are really the 2 fields here, or the 2 columns that we need for that. So we'll type in name and then email address, just as an example. And then what I can do with this, I type in the information. So we type out Ryan. Let's see. I can just add on my email here. So I'll type in Ryan. Perfect. Type in the rest of our steps. We'll type in David Evans. Type it, and we could add his email on too. Now, let's say as an example, we're finishing up with this here and we don't need all these extra rows. So we can delete those too. So that's able to be done just by going in, you right click, row 6, delete. Row 5, delete, and then row 4. Perfect. So taking a look at this, everyone, something that we might want to add as well, and this is a great way to give your page a more dynamic look, and that's to include an image or photo. So let's definitely make sure that we go in and do that here. So to add on a photo, we follow those same exact steps we followed earlier when we added the content block for the table. First step, we're going to go in, we take our mouse, we bring it inside of the existing block. Then I right click, and depending on where I want this to go, I'll choose insert above or insert below. So in this case, we select insert below. Then I can choose these options here. So in this case, I'm going to find the block I want to use. So we're going to go with this one. And just as with before, we click on the content block, and it's going to be added on to our page here. Now, with this here, one of the things that we may notice, and this is actually a perfect case for this, we may notice that the spacing between our blocks isn't the best. But that's okay because we can fix this. How we do this, we just take our mouse, we'll bring it just towards the top of the lower block. You always do this with the lower block. Then you can bring this down by up to 20 pixels, just like that. And I can go in now and add our photo. I click change image, and I just find the photo I want to use. So maybe we want to go, we'll say that we want to go with a photo. We'll go with this one here. Perfect. That looks pretty good. Now, one of the things that's cool too is you may go in and you may share this with the public, add it to navigation and everything. But let's say later on down the line, it's a few months down the line, you want to make some changes to it. But maybe you don't want to go in and make those changes on the public page. You got a cool option here that can really help you with this. So I'm just going to first save the page. What we can do is we can duplicate this page. So that way we can work on the unpublished version of it. And when we're ready to share those changes, we're able to do so. So let's do that. So my first step is, as I just go in, I click that duplicate option, click OK. And then with this, what we can do is we can work on version 2. We want to remember, so version 1's live. So this page here is not live. Version 1 is. So I can go in and make any changes. One change that maybe I want to make is maybe I want to make, one change I can make is adding a document. So let's see how to do that. So to add a document, I'm going to add on another content block. We follow the same steps. We right click, I'm going to select insert below. We just need some text here. We need a text field for this. There we are. Let's bring that down a little bit. So maybe for the document we want to add on our student expectations. Now, what's cool about the page editor is that it really makes it easy to be able to create anchor text and then link documents to that as well. Now, In a lot of cases, sometimes we might add files like this. We'll go into the file repository, we click upload files, and we would just go in, find the document here we want to use. However, there's definitely a much better way. So what that is we're actually just going to first get rid of this file. I go to Files, and what I do is I'm just going to click on this little trash bin icon. So that deletes that. And a better way to do this is we create the anchor text, and what we do for this is we just type out the title of the document. When linking documents or websites, it is best for accessibility practices to link your text or link your website or link your document, I should say, to text that matches the exact name of that document or the exact name of that website or web page. So for this here, I'll just type out, I'm going to say we want to add on our student expectations. So I type this out. What I can do now is I highlight over the text. And from here, I'm going to go in, I'm going to click on this little chain link icon. I switch it over to document. And what I can do with this is I can go in and I can either drag and drop it in, or I can go in, I click select file. So I find the file on here I want to add on. And I click open. Now, an important step for this is we'll want to go in, we'll want to make sure we test our links. And that's particularly important if you're adding a link to an outside website. I think we've all done it. I know I've done it where we've added a link and maybe we didn't copy the link all the way. I know I've missed, either a letter or a number on a link before. So this is just something good to do. Now remember, to test this, if you try to click on it right now, you'll notice that nothing happens, and that's by design. What you need to do is you need to switch from edit mode to test mode. So to do this, you have this little button over here that looks like a feather. So when this is red, that means you are in edit mode. But when you click on it and it's grayed out, that means you're in test mode. So we can't change anything here, but what we can certainly do is we go in, we click on the link. As we can see, that opens that file up for us. Now, something else you have here too that can help with accessibility is your recommendation button. I must say that the recommendation button has a cool look to it. You have this little emoji on it, which I think is neat. You click on that, and it's kind of nice. It looks over the page for you, and then it's going to provide you with suggestions. This right here is a great way to make your page more accessible, and that is to go in and to add on alternative text. To do this, what you're going to do is you're going to go in, you right-click on the image, select accessibility, and you got a couple of options here. So one is to go in and to mark it as decorative or to add on the alternative text. Now, one reason it's so important to add on alternative text, it allows us to be able to provide information about an image to anyone using a screen reading program. But what it also does too is it makes sure that the file name's not read out. Now, in this case here, the other option is to mark it as decorative. And you really only want to do that in cases where the image truly is decorative. So where it's not contributing to the main content on the page. Now, this image actually kind of falls in line with that. It's a great photo, but it's not really part of the main content on this admissions page. So in this case here, I go in, I mark it as decorative, click apply, and we're just actually telling screen reading programs to skip over the photo. So I'll tell the programs to not even read out the file name. So now I save the page, click the emoji button, and we get this thumbs up. That's exactly what we want to see. Now remember, we're editing version 2. This is not live yet. So let's say though that now this page is ready to go and we want to publish it. So version 1 doesn't have that file we just added. What I can do, I go to version 2. Now I can go in, I click publish and click OK. So now version 2 is the live one, whereas version 1 isn't. Version 1 still exists and you can still access it, but version 2 is currently the live version for this. All right, everybody. So we've now had a chance to see some of the cool things that the page editor is going to allow us to do. We're going to take a look now at something completely different. We're going to talk for a moment about these email contact forms, which are great, that are currently on the staff directory. So a huge benefit to having this compared to having your staff members' email addresses on the site is it's a great way to be able to go in and to be able to cut back on spam. Now, we have something else here that we're offering now that you can use that can help even make this even, and it is a very, very safe form. This is a very safe setup with this. What that is to make it so that people can't put in a staff member's name, to make it look like that maybe a staff member is sending a message. We have the option now for an email filter that can help with this. So this is something great. You can maybe add like your principal's name in this area here. And it's another tool that we have to be able to go in and to not really stop phishing, but to help prevent it. So what we do for this is we're going to head over here to the waffle button. And this is actually going to be found right under settings. So what I can do is I click this. I go to this drop-down menu. And I'm going to look for where it says staff. I see it right here. I scroll down, and right underneath where you would go in and you would opt for the contact form, you have the staff name filter as well. So with this, what we can do is we can add names on to prevent those names from being used as the sender's name. So as an example, I could type in Ryan Clancy. And then what I would want to do, and we could add more names too. So we could type in David Evans. After that, what I would do is I would click save. So let's try to enter one of these names here and see what happens. So I can go in, type in my name. As well as my email address. I'm just going to type out our message. We'll type out test. So this is a great setup here. This is just another step that we can take to make emails safer, which is never a bad thing to do. Now, I can go in, I'm going to type in the reCAPTCHA. So that also helps cut back on spam as well. I send the email to Mr. Evans. And look at this. So that's perfect. So that's what we want to see for this here. And that is a great step that you can take. A great idea is, if you'd like to, you can maybe add the principal's name or other administration staff on there to help prevent phishing that might occur with the email contact forms. All right, everyone. Well, at this time, I am happy to help with any questions you have. To ask questions, what you'll want to do is you're going to want to click on that little bubble icon on your GoToTraining toolbar. I'm going to be happy to assist with those. Now, in the meantime, I want to show you how you can reach out to our tech support team. Tech support, we have an awesome tech support team. As a matter of fact, what's cool is they're actually available to you Monday through Friday from 8:30 a.m. Eastern all the way till 3 a.m. Eastern in the morning. You have a couple of different ways you can reach out to them. One of those being is you can go in, you can click on this little button here. It kind of looks like a waffle. Then you would go into help desk. One of the things that we do ask for security purposes is that for requests for tech support, for example, if you would like to have us embed a video, that's definitely something we can do. We would just ask that that is sent in as a tech support ticket. And that allows us to verify, whoever's making that request, it's going to allow us to verify that they have the necessary permissions to do so. And what we would do is we would go in and click create a ticket, and we just simply go in, we fill out this form. It is best too, when you are sending in a ticket, to just be as detailed as possible. One of the things that I would suggest for this is if you would like us to embed a document or a video, just including a link to the page you would like to go on, and our team will be happy to go in. It'll help our team complete your ticket for you more quickly. All right, everyone, looks like we have a question. So this question here that means, or this question here, let's see. All right, thank you for sending this in, Brenda. Brenda asks, so by putting that filter in emails means that if on one of my parents tried to email me, it would not send and it would give them that error message. That's a great question. So what would happen is only if they put in like the first, put in the full name as we entered it in for a name that you added to the filter for that. If they don't do that, they'll still be able to go in and still be able to send that message. So just kind of as an example, if I go over to my profile, I could type in David Williams, then test. We just fill this out here. So this will work here. It's just if they enter in a name that's been added to the filter. It's a great question, Brenda. Thank you for sending that in. So click send email. And as we can see, it's been delivered here successfully, which is cool. All right, everyone. Well, hey, I want to thank you all so much for taking the time out of your busy days to join us here for this webinar. This is the first time this webinar is being shown, so I'm excited to have you all join us here today. I want to mention as well that if you have any questions, to please feel free to also send me an email. I'm going to be happy to go in and happy to help with those questions. My name is Ryan Clancy, and I'm the Client Success Manager here at Educational Networks. I do also have my phone number here as well if you have questions. Everyone, as I always like to say at the end of these trainings, keep inspiring those future generations, and I look forward to seeing you all again really soon. Take care, everybody. Hi, Brenda. Thank you. Thank you for sending in that question.